Hi guys, we are going to go on with business as usual, even though I'm not here this morning. So you should have your notes glued in on page 49, or if you're in second period, I think you're on a different page number. But you guys know what page number you should be on, so get those glued in, have last night's homework out. You can pause this video if you need more time, but I am going to move on to start grading the homework. So remember, when you are graphing on a coordinate plane, it always goes x first and then y. Remember, this is the x-axis, horizontal. This is the y-axis, vertical. So if I'm looking for 2, 4, that means 2 is my x, 4 is my y. So I'm going to go over 2 and up 4. That's letter N. -2 and 5. I'm going to go over to -2 and up to +5. That's G. -4, -4. That means I go over to the left to -4, down to -4. That's S. Then we got 5, 1, over 5, up 1, K. +1 and -5. That's D. -2 and -4. That is B. For 7 through 12, write the ordered pair for each point. Let's see, Q. So for Q, they went over 3 and up 3. 3, 3. For E, let's see. It looks like they didn't go left or right. They stayed on the y-axis. They just went down to -1. So that means 0 would come first, and then -1. All right, H. It looks like they went to the left to -1 and then down to -3. -1, -3. R, they went to -1 and then up to 5. W, they went over 3, down 1, so 3, -1. And A, they went over 4 and then they stayed there. They didn't go up, they didn't go down. So 4, 0. All right, for 13 through 18, plot each ordered pair on the coordinate plane and then write the quadrant or axis where it is located. So I'm going to go to this graph. I'm going to start at the origin. That's like my good home spot. I'm going to go to -3 on the x and -3 on the y. Put a dot, label it U. Then you need to write the quadrant or axis where it's located. Remember, quadrants go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is quadrant 3. 14, I'm going to start at the origin. First, I'm going to go over to -4. Then I'm going to go up to +5. Label that point S. That's quadrant 2. Go back to the origin. First, it says 0, so don't move. Then -4 means go down 4. That is point F. So that's not technically in a quadrant. That's right on the y-axis. So you would put y-axis. Number 16, it says go over 2, up 2. So that's quadrant 1 with all the positive numbers. Next one says go over 1 and then down to -1. So that's T. That's in quadrant 4. Remember, we put IV for 4. And then go back to the origin. First we go to 5, then we go to -2. So over and down. That is in quadrant 4 also. All right, John plotted a point that was 3 units to the right of the origin and 5 units down. What is the ordered pair of his point? So you can use this coordinate plane to kind of work it out. So you start at the origin, you go 3 to the right and 5 down. So you're right here. So that would be +3, -5. That is A. All right, last one. Circle each ordered pair that is located in quadrant 3. Remember, quadrant 3 down here is surrounded by negatives. So all the x numbers are negative, all the y numbers are negative. So I know -8, -10 would be there, and -1, -1 would be there. All right, so keep that in your folder and flip to the warm-up page in your notebook. All right, so this was a star question recently from one of the star tests. It says, which coordinates represent the location of a point inside the shaded section? You can pause this video for a minute or two and solve it in your notebook. All right, so one thing we can do to figure this out is think about when you're in quadrant 2, which is where the shaded part is, that means that the x numbers are negative and the y numbers are positive. So that means I know I'm going to have a negative number first and a positive number second. So B, that doesn't look like it's in quadrant 2. And C, those both look like they're in quadrant 4. So that narrows it down to A or D. And then remember, X goes first and then Y. So if I start at the origin and I'm trying to go to the shaded part, I'm going to have to go at least like about -4, maybe -5. So let's see, A says -1.5. That would not be far enough. -1.5 would be right there. And then it says go up 4.5. That's right there. That's not the shaded part. D would make sense because you would go over -4.5 steps and then up 1.5 steps. That would be right there. All right, so next I want you guys to flip to the notes for today. We are going to look at some tables to go along with the graphs. All right. So, starting from the top. The left column in a table always represents the x values, while the right column always represents the y values. So what that means is that if you have a table set up like this, x is always going to be on the left, y is always going to be on the right. So it's just like alphabetical order. And then if you have tables that are horizontal, like this, the x values are always going to be on the top row, the y values are always going to be on the bottom row. So the top row and the bottom row. All right, so first we need to fill in the table using the values that are plotted on the line. So I think it helps to put some points on this line. So if we can find some spots where it's perfectly lined up with the grid, like right here, I can put a point, right there, that helps us to see where it's lined up. So it looks like on the table they filled in the x numbers for us. We just need to fill in the y values. So first it says x is 5. Remember, this is the x-axis, so I'm going to go to 5. And where is it lined up with on the y-axis? Looks like it's lined up with 10. That point is 5, 10. Then next it says 10 on the x-axis. Go straight up and over. That's lined up with 20 on the y. 15 on the x, 30 on the y. And now you could probably see a pattern. It is going up by 10 each time on the y. So 40 and 50. So if it's a straight line, that means there's a pattern. Once you figure that out, it's pretty easy. All right, next we are going to take the table and turn it into a graph. So what you guys need to remember is that the x values are on the top. So that means minutes is x and rotations would be y. So when we go to fill in this graph, first let's label the x and y axis. So this one's the x. We need to put these numbers for the scale. So I'm going to start with 0 in the corner. And then I like to skip a line like every other line so it's not so jumbled. So I'll count by 3s, but I'm going to go 0, skip a line. Then that line is 3, skip a line. This line can be 6. just to spread it out. 9, skip a line, 12, skip a line, 15. And then you are going to label that minutes. So under the numbers, you can put your label. And then on your y-axis, we need to put the rotations. So I'll count by 12s, just like the table. I'm going to do the same thing. Skip a line and then go 12. Skip a line, 24, 36, 48. I don't even have room for 60. You can squeeze it in if you want. Doesn't really matter. All right, so now we need to put the points on our graph. So first says 3 minutes is 12 rotations. There, that would line up. Next one, 6 minutes, 24 rotations. Lines up right there. 9 lines up with 36. 12 lines up with 48. 15 lines up with 60. That would be in the top corner. And then if you connected those, they would make a straight line. You don't have to, but you can if you want. Oh, also, I want to label this side, the y-axis, as rotations. All right, so next part. You guys definitely know about this from science, the independent and the dependent variables. So when you're looking at tables and graphs, the independent variables are always represented by the x values. So that means the dependent variables are represented by the y values. I know if you have Miss Bishop, you have definitely heard of the saying dry mix. So that means dry goes down here. So dependent, oh no, I messed that up. That should be mixed, my bad. Dry goes up here. Dependent responding y-axis, so this is dry. Then mix would be manipulated, independent, x-axis. So that's going to help you out with this if you already know that. So basically, if we're looking at a table like this, we know x is on the left and y is on the right. So it's asking us which one is the independent variable. Well, independent is always x, so that means hours is independent. And you guys should know time is always independent. Hours, minutes, days, seconds, always going to be independent. And then dependent is the y values, so that's the inches of rain. So just remember, dry mix. Dependent is y, independent is x. All right, so over here, if I'm looking for the independent variable, I'm looking for mix. So on the x-axis, that's my independent. Number of cartons. That means dependent is number of muffins. All right, so make sure you got all that filled in, and then you are done with the notes. Okay, whenever you are ready to move on, you will need a pencil, and you will need one of each of these sheets. We've got a sheet that says coordinate plane mystery picture and a sheet that has all of these coordinates. So pause this video while you get these passed out. Alright, so I thought it would be fun to do a little connect the dots thing. So on one of your sheets you have a table, or you have a bunch of tables with all the coordinates, and this sheet is blank, so this is where you're going to graph your points. Notice how on your sheet it starts with line 3. We're going to do lines 1 and 2 together, so you don't need 1 and 2. So get your pencil ready, and everybody go to the origin on their coordinate plane, so right in the middle. So line 1. Basically, we're going to connect all of these points to make a line. All right, so my first point is 1 and -8. So I'm going to go to the origin. I'm going to go over to +1. That's my x, and then I'm going to go down to -8. Put a point. Definitely use a pencil for this. I'm just using this so you can see it better, but you're probably going to mess up, so you're going to need to erase. So 1, -8. That's my first point. I'm going to cross it off so I know I already did it. My next point says 1, -6. So start at the origin again. Go over to 1 on your x. Go down to -6. Put your dot. And then what you need to do is connect that dot back to the first dot. So that's how the picture is going to appear. Connect it back to the first one. Cross it off. Move on to the next one. Next one says 0 first, so that means don't move. -5 means go down 5. So I'm going to be right on the y-axis. You need to connect it to the one right before it. So draw a diagonal line. Now you've got 3 dots. Back to the origin. Next it says -1 on the x and -6 on the y. So I'm going to go left 1, down 6. So that's going to connect back to the third point. Looks like that. And the last one on line 1 says -1 and -9. So I'm going to go over 1, down 9, like that. So you don't need to connect this back to the beginning. You just stop right there. That is line 1. All right, so line 2 is going to be separate. Let's do line 2 together. First it says go to 10x and -9y. So all the way down in the corner. Next point is 9x and -9y. Let's see, 9, -9, so right next to it. Connect it back to the first one. Next one is 8x, -8y. So over 8, down 8. Connect it with a diagonal line back to the second point. And I should be crossing these off. Last one is 8 and -7. So over 8, down 7. This is line 2. All right, so once you're done with the line, you stop and you move on to the next line. So at the end of this, it's going to come out as a picture. You'll have to see if you can figure out what it is. So next thing you guys are going to do is use your paper for line 3. So start off with -3, 3, cross it off, keep connecting all these. Same thing for line 4, connect all those. I would highly recommend crossing them off so you don't lose your spot. You are probably not going to finish this in class, but if you do finish it, then I'm going to have you turn your picture into the tray, and you can just recycle the sheet with all the numbers on it. Just turn your picture in the tray with your name on it. If you don't finish, keep both papers in your folder, and I'll give you time to finish another day. And then make sure before you leave, you grab a homework. I will have the teacher make sure to give you a homework. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just keep working on this. See how far you can get. I will see you guys later. Peace.